Crossman Classic 1322 here, 22 caliber. Let's take a real close look at this thing. All right. Where to start? Where to start? Where to start? Where would we start? Alright. This is my wall. My hands are trembling. We got 12 gauge double barrel Diablo VFR 14 inch semi-automatic 12 gauge, loaded with 20 buckshots. We got a couple mags of rifled slugs. We got hammers and backpacks and more gear and shovels and axes and tomahawks and kukris and fighting knives and camp knives. Oh, we got a lot. 308s, 40 calibers, Kevlar. Lots of cool stuff to talk about. I guess I'd say I grew up with guns, and I really wore out some BB guns when I was little. And it's a shame my hands are so shaky because my shooting has gotten pretty bad. These are 22 caliber pellets. Take a look at that. Let's see, these are 22 caliber rimfire bullets. Like, this is a little Derringer that shoots a little rimfire. That makes that gun look real big, don't it? Whereas here's my 40 caliber Beretta 96A1. Still makes that gun look kind of big. It's lightweight. I'd say that Beretta's heavier, quite a bit heavier. So it's a lightweight gun. And it's got a tiny little thin barrel. And it's about that big. It's about that heavy. Actually, perfect size. A 10-inch barrel is perfect size for a hip. It don't go down too far. I think a 12 or 14-inch barrel might be a little too much. Getting ready to rain. I hear the wind blowing. It's a 10-inch. My big 10-inch. I'd say 10 inches is about as far as you want to go. Accuracy. Well, let's talk about Olympics. The Olympics developed a Brown & Buckmark 22 caliber rimfire 10-inch bull barrel pistol. It looks almost identical to this. I plan to get one someday. And so these were designed a long time ago to mimic those. So basically you're looking at a backyard affordable edition of an Olympic target pistol. The first Browning that come out was called the Silhouette. There's a new version available called the Varmint. You can get them in 2 calibers. These Crossman Classic 1377 or 1322, 77 caliber, 22 caliber. You can see here, 22 rimfire is about that big. That's a little hollow point right there. You put that in there, and that would definitely kill somebody. These are little 22 caliber pellets. And 22 caliber means they're the same thickness, same diameter, 22. These here claim to be 17 grain. I imagine you can get a few different weights, but styles and shapes and whatnot. What's the difference here? This has an explosion. This has air. So there's 2 different types of weapons. Boom and poof. Poof of air. Alright, so that's a difference. This one uses air, like a dart gun, like an air gun, blow gun, like a spitball. You know? Okay, what to say about this? Well, where to start? They come with a sight back here that I didn't like, and the sight up here seemed to wiggle a little bit when you're bending, and it's kind of flimsy seeming when you pump it, twisty, turny a little bit. So this sight way back here, and this thing, and then the barrel hooks here. It's got a decent barrel. And then it had this sight here. It's pretty accurate at 30 yards off of sandbags. I was able to shoot about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch group. And that's with my shaky hands and bad eyes. So I took that sight off. I didn't like it. It was jaggedy, sharp, pokey. It was too big, too high. This sight here was much taller, and it was all part of one piece. And it twisted when you pumped the gun and stuff. And the barrel just kind of free floated inside of there. And what I did, it's hard to see here, but I took a saw. I disassembled it and sawed it in half. And that little front sight is only attached to the barrel now, and it is not hooked to this, and it's not hooked to that, not hooked to nothing but the barrel. I bought some cheap BB gun sights, and I put them here on the back. You can see these typical old BB gun sight. And then I put plastic under it, and I put epoxy in it, and then I took a grinder to it and made it much smaller. And this is hooked directly to the barrel. So now that both sights are hooked directly to the barrel, this is more accurate even than it came from the factory. A little twisty, wobbly, but still was extremely accurate. But now it's extremely accurate. I have been able to shoot 1/2 inch groups at 30 yards, but I've been shaky for the past couple months. I haven't even bothered. Anyway, what are we talking about here? So this is an air gun. Let's move into that. There's 3 types of air guns. The kind you pump up is a pneumatic pump. And there's kinds that have smaller, larger air cartridges, CO2. And then there's kind that you cock it and a spring is going to do the action. It's called spring action. And of those 3, pneumatic is the most reliably accurate. Why? Because CO2 is greatly affected in different temperatures. It's affected by when it's new as to where it's when it's low. And it's also a big problem that 99% of all BB guns cannot be left pumped up at the ready. The air just leaks out. One thing about this one is it's perfectly fine to leave it on about 6 or 7 pumps. It won't hurt nothing, and it'll always be ready to fire. You get to looking at BB guns and stuff, and 90% of them are really cool and really this and really that. But are they hunt class? If you go Googling hunt class, this will pop up. This is considered in the class of survival, exist, kill squirrels, rabbits, stuff like that. You could kill people with this. It's not a toy. It's a 22 caliber. It's no much different than that. This little tip of this is no much different than that little thing right there. Don't think this is a toy. It is not a toy. Okay, so of BB guns, we went with 10 inch and we went with pneumatic as the most accurate, most reliable, most dependable. You leave it ready, which is just a main thing right there. If it's not ready and you got to put a new cartridge in it and this, that, and the other, and then it's good for a day. No, this is good forever, and they're really great. I made mine more accurate. 10 inch barrel. The Brown and Buck marks have a 10 inch bull barrel. This has a 10 inch skinny barrel. With an air gun and this gun, the difference of all this explosion, the thing to know is barrels wiggle and vibrate. If you hit a metal tuning fork, it's actually wiggling. It's having vibrations. You think that barrel is so stiff you can't bend it, but when you shoot an explosion, push that round through it, that barrel has a wiggle and a vibration, and they wiggle. And the longer a barrel is, the more wiggle. Shorter a barrel is, the stiffer it is, the less wiggle. Right? All right. With air guns, there's no explosion, so you don't need quite as heavy duty of a barrel because there's a lot less pressure and a lot less wiggle. All right. So is a 10-inch thin barrel okay? Well, actually, 10-inch is more accurate than a 30-inch. For real. And yes, it's perfectly fine. This is a really good steel barrel, rifled barrel, really good pistols, very dependable. Yes, they're hunt class. Yes, they kill. And yes, they're very accurate. A half-inch group to an inch group at 30 yards is really good for shooting BB guns and pistols. About BB guns, don't underestimate them. I've killed crows at 125 yards with BB guns that shoot a little bit harder than this one. That would have been a pump up rifle with a longer barrel. Even though shorter barrels are more accurate, longer barrels allow it to build up more speed, which twice as fast, you go twice as far. So like a pump up BB gun edition of this with a 25-inch barrel, you pump it up and you're going twice as fast, and you can really kill a rabbit at 125 yards if you're lucky enough to hit it. I have done it, and these things are very deadly. So having a shorter barrel is going to make the bullet a little bit slower, and that's going to limit your ability to distance and power. Is this okay or not? Yes, it is. The 10-inch is not too weak to make it. 10-inch is just there. Hunt class acceptable. What's the difference between a fast bullet and a slow bullet? This air gun shoots like 420 feet per second. I think 430. Depends on what goes on. I keep mine on like 7 pumps. But if this bullet and this bullet are compared, and this one's going twice as fast, 3 times as fast, 4 times as fast, maybe even, the difference is when you aim at something and you shoot at it and that bullet goes straight to it. Okay, and then if you get something like this and it shoots very slow, that bullet's not going to go straight to it. You're going to have to throw it high, and it's going to go flying through the air, and it's going to come back down, and then it's going to hit it. So the difference is a very fast bullet has a very flat, straight flight path trajectory. A very slow bullet has a arc, like throwing potatoes, and baseballs, and footballs, beach balls, and volleyballs. Is that a problem? Well, not for bow shooters. It shoots about the same as what a bow does. It's got about the same arc, same flight path. It's good for up to 50 to max at maybe 100 yards, and you have to know where to aim. You can't just aim at something here and then aim at something further away and then aim at something even further away and hit all of them. So you have to decide where you want to set your sights to be. I've got my sights set at like 30 yards, and the flight path for 30 yards is dead on at 30 yards. And then halfway to 30 yards, the bullet is like 2 inches high. So at like 15 yards, the bullet is an inch or so high. And at like 20 to 25 yards, the bullet is like an inch or so high. But at like 30 to 34 yards, right about there is where I'm hitting perfect. And with the sights being above the barrel, and the bullet starts out below the sight line, when it first crosses the sight line is at 7.5 feet. which is exactly perfect for shooting stuff really close up. And so it's deadly perfect, hole in hole, like shooting from here to the corner of the room off of a sandbag. You can put a hole and hole and hole, and then all the way across the yard, 30 yards away, you can shoot a group smaller than this. This is probably, what, 2.5 inches. You take what would be, I'll show you a group. If I shot 5 of these at 30 yards, they'd be in a pattern about like this, you see, about that big, just about an inch group. And I've been able to shoot 1/2 inch groups at 30 yards off the sandbags, which would be kind of like that, 5. Just make one big fat hole. And so yeah, they're very accurate, very deadly, but these are shooting very slow, and you have to understand your flight path. Like a guy with a bow and arrow, he'll have a setup on a sight that has one pin for 50 yards, another pin for 40 yards, another pin for 30 yards, another pin for 20 yards. And if something's at 30 yards, he'll use that 30-yard pin. If something's farther away at 50 yards, he'll raise it up and use that 50-yard pin. If something's close up, he'll use that 10-yard pin. And with this, I've only got one sight, so I set it for 30, and I memorize if I see something about 15, 20 yards away, then my bullet's going to be about 2 inches high, you know. And I just got to memorize that, just like with a bow and arrow or whatever. Is that a problem? No, but it takes some practice and some understanding. You have to get good at judging distance. If you look at a squirrel and say, how far is that? You're going to have to be able to guess pretty good how far away it is, so you'll know just about exactly how high you want to aim, or how, you know, you want to aim. So this, being slow, requires mental skill and understanding and practice, whereas a much, much faster bullet takes a lot less thought. It's a very flat, straight line. It's not going to be 2 inches high in the middle. It's just going to be straight from here to there. If you see something close up, aim at it. If you see something far away, aim at it. This here shoots slow. If you see something very close up, aim at it. If you see something at 30 to 34 yards, aim at it. But if it's at 20 yards, then your bullet's going to be 2 inches high. So you got to aim down below it a little bit and guess 2 inches. You know, so squirrel at 20 yards away, is it hard to aim 2 inches low and guess what is about 2 inches and hold it about 2 inches low? No, it's not a problem. If you practice, it's not a problem at all. You see guys with bows and arrows with no sights, and they can hit stuff really well. You see kids with baseballs, they can hit stuff really well. You practice with this, you'll be able to hit everything really well, very dependably, very rugged. Okay, let's talk a little bit more. Why did I choose this? I could have chose any pellet gun, BB gun on earth. I could have anything I wanted, and I chose this. Why? Because it's small enough to go on my hip, and that's what I want. That's what I want. If it's not on my hip, at the ready, pumped up, then I don't even want it. And I didn't want a big, long, nice BB gun hanging on my shoulder. I got a 308, so I ain't got room for that, man. I got too many as it is. I got 150 pounds of guns and gear. I got this short shotgun, big drum mag, a little double barrel 12 gauge, and this is 12 gauge. We got a 308, we got the 40 caliber pistol. We got plenty of guns, and we're still talking about getting a 22 caliber rimfire target pistol that looks almost exactly like this from Browning. So we don't need a big, long, powerful BB gun in my setup. you might need one in yours. If you want to kill coyotes at 100 yards, this is not the gun for you. You're going to want to get a very powerful, one, maybe even a bigger caliber. But if you just want to kill birds in your backyard, this is fine. This will kill anything, rabbits, squirrels, birds, very efficiently, very good. At 7 pumps, at 10 yards, the pellets completely pass through the skulls of 14-inch rats, Tennessee wolf rats. I've shot them like 10 yards away on like 7 pumps, and the bullet goes completely through the top of the head and comes out the bottom. And I've done tons and tons and tons of videos, thousands of comments, and I whittled on the sights and played with it, and all that's on Facebook if anybody wants to really, really, really see about 3 hours of me fooling with this thing. And but so I think I covered what I want to say. What is it? Why is it? What's it capable of? I changed the sights on it. I put sights directly on the barrel. I'm very happy with that. It makes it just a little more accurate instead of having sight back here and having a sight that was all attached to one piece up here that kind of twisted and wiggled, and the barrel actually free floating inside of. I separated the sights directly on the barrel. This sight's directly on the barrel. Now I'm almost done with it. I'm going to make my groove in between the notch right there. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. And the front sight I'm okay with. I put a dot on it. And got it going on. But almost done with it. I just need to make my groove a tiny bit bigger. And I got to be real careful that I don't throw it off center. But I've got that stuff all epoxied to the barrel. Very solid. This is epoxied to the barrel, very solid. It's been separated, sawed, completely separated. It's not a part of that front. It only hooked to the barrel, small little piece of it. This is only hooked to the barrel. A lifetime of hunting, killing stuff. I can tell you this gun is absolutely just fine. This 77 caliber, it would shoot a lot faster. It'd be a little more easy for you. It won't have to be 2 inches high. It'll probably be 1 inch high. It'll have a much flatter flight path. So this is the slowest of them all. I could get power upgrades. I don't want them. I don't need them. If you get a power upgrade, you can't leave it pumped up twice more. I mean, if you leave this on 10 pumps, it'll mess up the seals. And if it's not pumped up ready, it's not in. That's not what I want. It's got to be pumped up ready. So if I can't leave it on 10 pumps without damaging the seals, and 6 or 7 pumps is okay. It's actually good for the seals. It keeps them pressed into place. And 6 or 7 pumps accurately, effectively kills things in the distances I want to. I'm happy with that. That's perfectly fine. This is a very, very, very solid, perfect, great decision choice. No worries, no fears. Get yourself one. And as a kid, I had the BB gun rifles. One of my uncles bought one of these back in the late 70s, early 80s, maybe. And I told myself I didn't want that. I want the longer barrel, goes faster, I can shoot further. And 2 hands on a rifle, I can aim it much more comfortably. I'm not as comfortable aiming pistols, so I didn't want it. But as a backpacker, survivalist, and having it on your hip at the ready, and you got all these other guns and gears, so you don't need no other. This is perfectly fine for what I want. But I'll tell you, everything I did and the thousands of birds I killed as a kid with those pellet rifles, I could have done every bit of that with this. Everything I ever did with all my other pellet guns, I could have done the same with this. I would have just had to be a little more careful with my aiming because it shoots slower. I still could have. This is just as good as any other. There's no worries. It's actually a very decent barrel. And we're happy with that. Very good, very good. If you want to see a whole lot more detail, you can go on Facebook, and you can see a whole lot more details where I've played with this thing for the past few months, and used magnifying glasses and grinders and Sharpies and stuff. And then I've made a lot of videos on Facebook showing all my gear, axes, tomahawks, knives, kukris, all that stuff, and the backpacks and reasons and whys. I got prepper videos about where I've been watching all the prepper videos for years, and I grew up in the woods, and I added my own little flips and tricks. And so there we go. That's what we talked about today. We'll cut the video off here, and then we'll make some more videos. I'll show you guys all this stuff. We'll show you all this stuff. I've never shot this yet. Never shot this yet. Never shot this yet. We are this close to being ready to go shooting and making some videos. I've been in recovery mode. My health has been very bad. But off we go. 1322. I love it. I wouldn't have chosen any other. I had $1 million. I'd get anything I want. I still would get the exact same thing. I still would tinker with the sights. I would have done exactly what I did. I wouldn't care if I had $1 billion. That's the one I chose. That's what 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 I chose. And it's interesting, on Facebook, you see my prepper videos. I put all this together as a pre-thought, decide, make a list, fill the list. This is what I chose as a one-man 6-gun setup. 6 guns. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a Derringer 6. I actually want a Ruger LCP. I had one. I gave it to a nervous store clerk. They make good extra pocket pistols you can share. Because 2 is 1, 1 is none. But there's my 6 guns for the moment.